Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, whenever it is you're seeing this fabulous episode. I'm Jonathan Bengal here, host of Naked Tax Talk, where we babies bear down to the naked truth about your personal life, your business life, and of course your money life. And why? Because we discovered this to be true, and that is that when we improve upon the self, then our businesses, which is a reflection of who we are, also improves, and the money that we make as a result of our energy and is also a reflection of who we are and our businesses also increase. And then when you work with someone like myself, who is an authorized, federally authorized tax practitioner, fancy word for an IRS enrolled agent, and also a certified tax coach and a certified tax planner, when you work with someone like us, babies, then your taxes go down. So I always get asked this question, Jonathan, why do you always have to show up on your show naked? And the reality is that for me, nakedness represents having courage, and it also represents being vulnerable. Those two things together, babies, transforms our lives and make us the powerful people that every single one of us has the potential and are in this moment. So, I woke up today kind of hazy. And I was going like, I could have just used maybe about another 20 minutes of sleep. I'm on my own personal natural sleep cycle right now that we'll talk about in a little bit. But without further ado, I'm going to bring on mon ami qui s'appelle Christopher Shivers. Il parle français aussi et anglais, vraiment. Et nous allons parler de discuss, je ne sais pas quoi exactement, mais on verra. So without that, I'm going to bring on Christopher Shivers here to my show, Naked Tax Talk. And Christopher, bonjour, salut, bisous, bienvenue à Naked Tax Talk.
Thank you so much for having me be here. Oh my God, I love the introduction. Yes, you're right. I have absolutely no idea what we're going to talk about. That's exactly what we're going to do this. Off the cuff, authentic.
That's it. That's exactly it. Always constantly being authentically who you are, regardless of where you show up in the world.
And I just to say, I love that courage and vulnerability. That's the first time I've heard that. That's beautiful. That's exactly what you want, especially as an entrepreneur, right? You don't be walking around with a guard up all the time, like everybody's your enemy.
No, not at all. So, Christopher, before we go, because some people watch this show in seconds sometimes. So very quickly, introduce yourself. Who are you? What are you about? What's the thing that you represent and whatnot? And then we'll get the show on the roll.
Awesome. Hi, everyone. My name's Christopher Shivers. I'm the Executive Operations Coordinator for CO USA. It's a sister company out of Belgium called Psychomed. And we have the most scientifically proven and clinically trialed method and device that'll put you to sleep like nothing else. And one thing I'd love to share about this device, it's not a pill, there's no drugs, nothing like that. But what's really revolutionary about it is that it teaches you to sleep so that actually you can put it away after. Because let's be honest, we've kind of been in this time right now where we have this medical system where it kind of puts band-aids on all the problems, and it's kind of becoming more and more apparent, as time goes on. And so it's just I know more and more people are starting to go maybe I'm not going to take the chemical. Maybe I'm actually going to practice meditation. Maybe instead of me going to the amusement park and spending all my money there, I'm actually going to go on a retreat and take a walk and take care of my body, take care of myself, that sort of stuff. So I'm starting to see that, because let's be honest, a lot of people, they live their lives in excess. And they think in their minds that this is relaxation. They think in their minds this is like resting them and resting their soul, I would say, really, because that's the part a lot of people don't try to give rest to. And in my opinion, I used to be a coach before I worked for a CEO, and I had a few really high functioning clients. One was a lawyer, partner for a firm, 3 kids, divorcee. The culture, people don't believe now that you can actually, fix yourself. Everybody believes you have to go to a doctor. Everybody believes you have to go somewhere. And yeah, a lot of times you do, right? But a lot of the times you don't, because we hear all the time now, people are beginning to create problems in their own minds. And then it comes out with stress. And next, my back hurts. I have a headache all the time. And the doctors can't find anything wrong with you. They're like, no, you seem fine, but here's some Xanax.
Yes. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about that, right? So we all know that I get spam calls all the time, so I'm gonna turn off. Boom, done. All right. So
Oh, thank you for reminding me.
I do like all the time spam calls all the time. But speaking of spam, so I of course was suffering from my breathing and my heart. And
Mm,
by the way, before I forget, if you're watching my show, don't forget this is interactive. So ask your questions. Let us know you're here. Tell us that you're here, so we know to include you in the combo here. But
yes.
I go to the docs and I'm having breathing problems, and my heart feels like it's gonna die out, and all this kind of fun stuff. So a few $1,000s later, and doctors,
Right.
cardiologist, and pulmonologist, and all these specialists, right?
Hmm.
All to find out that it happens to be one vitamin that I was taking, and apparently overdoing it. So that's what it was, right? It came to be a fucking pill. I'm gonna put it out there. It was a pill. And so it's like,
Excess.
yeah, like, oh, it's a pill. Okay, yep, all
Yeah.
right. As opposed to kind of like, dealing with exactly those functions of like, yeah, why are you so tired all the time? Or why are you, da 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 da, right? And it's
Hmm.
about, let's find out a different solution. Because your device, right? It's a device that you have, right? Is this how it works?
I mean, yeah. Let me show it to you really.
And by the way, I want to point this out while you do that. Look at his cute freaking bathrobe. I mean, hello.
I knew you would love
Yes.
it. I know you would love it. I was like, oh,
Oh my
this
god.
is. I'll wear this.
I'm a fan. I'm a fan of the polka dot bathrobe. I love it.
Excellent. So this is the CO.
Oh my god. Looks like totally 1980s.
Yeah, exactly. Good. Thank you. I'm so happy. It's simple. Okay, and that's exactly how we built it. The only thing that's not
Wow.
simple about it though is the lens.
Oh wow.
Lens right
Okay.
here. So it's actually made in the only factory in the world that can produce space quality lenses.
Oh. Oh wow.
And the reason why they're like that is so that the light that comes through the very top up here
Uh-huh.
can diffuse in several different ways. So when it actually hits your eyes, it's been diffused so much it doesn't cause any retina damage.
So now so it actually blocks out the light, like light from actually coming into our eyeballs.
And only lets in the light we want because
Oh.
light sends messages to our eyes. So I'm going to get a little geeky, but there's a cell in our eyes called ganglion cells, and they're different types.
Ganglion. Sounds like so
Yeah,
long and lanky. You know what I mean? Like
they
so
are
goofy.
actually. They are
Oh.
actually. That's why they're
Look
called that.
at
They're actually
that.
they are long and lanky, and they tend to be very long neurons, like really long ones compared to the other stuff. And some of them are designed to pick up very specific colors of light, and I mean so specific that you have to be an artist to know the difference between this shade of blue to that blue.
Oh
That's
wow.
how accurate they are, and you don't know your eyes are doing this. This is purely subconscious. And it just so happens there's a cell in your eye called ganglion cell that is looking constantly for a very specific blue that's the exact same blue of a clear day sky.
Oh.
Okay, and it's very specific blue because there's like the sun in it. There's all this energy that's coming and that's bathed in it. So it's a
Yeah.
very specific nanometer wavelength of light. And
Oh.
so what happens is that when it finally hits that part of your eye, your body goes, "Oh, I just got a message. It's time to lower." And if you guys ever heard this chemical, it's called melatonin.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you
Melatonin.
can buy it
Yes.
anywhere here in the States. And
Yes.
so what it does, it tells your body, "Oh, it's daytime. It's not time to go to sleep. It's not time to feel groggy." And so it lowers, right, the melatonin count in your system. And next thing you know, you're more aware and you're more awake. So here's a good
Oh.
example. Have you ever been to the Venetian in Vegas?
Venetian. Have I been to probably just only through the lobby.
Okay.
To the
It's that really
casino.
famous one where it's like a little Venice in there, there's like a little canal and
Yeah, yeah,
stuff.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Okay. So the ceiling in that room is the exact same blue, and it's designed so when you walk in there late at
Yeah.
night and you've been drinking and you're tired
Yes.
from all the gambling, you will actually feel rejuvenated from being under that ceiling.
It's all on purpose. It makes total sense. Because
So you
if
go
your
back
ass
and you
is
have a
groggy
water.
because you're sleepy, but you're wide awake because of the light, and then you put money into slot machines, baby, make it rain.
Yes.
Yeah.
And planes are starting to do it now. They're starting to learn how to use this light. And so and it also does the opposite way as well. It even sets up a light that will actually increase. It'll tell your brain, "Oh, it's time to go to bed." So that's kind of the thing that I'm on a huge crusade about right now, telling everybody around me in the States, especially like melatonin is not just some little gummy that you put in your kid's mouth so that they be quiet and go to bed.
Right.
It does not put you to sleep. right?
Right.
It regulates your clock. It tells you when to sleep. And if you keep giving a child little gummies like this,
Yeah.
it's between the age of 0 and 6. Imagine what that's going to do to their brain development when they're older.
Yeah. I mean, it makes total sense because it's kind of like it makes sense because I think so. At one point, I actually had really bad insomnia, like really, really, really bad. Like we'll go back a couple of decades.
Please, let's do it.
Yeah, a couple of decades when I was young, adorable. So anyway, so like so I was in my I've always actually had sleeping issues actually in one form or another. But needless to say, so in my younger years, I was I must have been in my late 20s, and I thought the solution was to take melatonin. And of course, what I and I luckily I'm kind of guy that does listen to my body. I listen to little things that are like, wait a minute, this isn't normal anymore, blah blah blah. And so I started noticing that I started had to take more melatonin to fall asleep. And I went,
Hmm.
well, that's not good because then I'll be drinking a whole bottle of melatonin just to try to get sleep, right?
Oh, you had it in liquid form.
No, no, no. I mean, I'm just joking. I didn't know there was such a thing. But so
That's the stronger stuff.
I need the tincture part of it. So I was like,
Right.
okay. So I eventually actually stopped, and of course, as we know, I ended up insomnia was kind of back, and
Hmm.
then I would end up seeking out help of doctors, as you know,
Hmm.
and they turn around and they go, oh yeah, let's give you this drug called Ambien, right? So I'm like, cool, because it works. It really worked. But the
Powerful.
problem is when you're caught walking up the staircase naked, because you're passed out, but you don't even know you're awake. So you're like, that was me. So I would often be walking around the house completely asleep and not aware. And so they sent me a picture of me crawling up the staircase butt naked, and I had no idea that
Oh
this was
my
going on.
God.
So when they showed me the picture that my ass was climbing upstairs naked, I was like,
Hmm.
yeah, that's not good. Because can you imagine you get into a car or you do something like that, right? So
Mm-mm.
I, of course, obviously kind of weaned myself off and stopped
Good,
taking
good.
them, whatever. But
That'd be
this is
tough.
a
Weaning is really hard
it is
for
because right
anyone.
because you're chasing the sleep, right? You're chasing
Mhm.
that rest. But I have a little secret here, Christopher. A little secret. Already, when I became my own boss and I became an entrepreneur, this is the gift of being an entrepreneur, is that I got to pick my own hours. Would you agree?
Yes.
And so when I got to choose my own hours, I was like, I don't have to force myself to go to bed at a certain time. I don't have to get up in the morning if I don't want to or a certain time. Why? Because I'm the boss, fool.
That's
Right? Like
right.
I'm the guy who gets to decide when I want to wake up or when I want to come into the office, which is why I have a staff member, why I have my director now, right? Let her be here in the morning and take care of. Well, that's not the case. I'm always here. But my point is like
Come on, every once
we
in a
get
while.
we get the choice to decide when to get up, when to go to bed. And what I discovered is that I have my own, and I think this is the weirdest thing. So you have to tell me your thoughts. I
Hmm.
have my own weird cycle that I go through, and it follows the season. It really follows the seasons. So
Okay.
right now we're in fall going into winter.
Okay.
So I naturally now will start going to bed closer to about 11:30 at night. All right. Now,
Hmm.
just a month ago, I was going to bed naturally like around like 10, 9:30 ish, give or take. All right. So
Okay.
naturally, I'd be like, oh, yeah, it's time for bed. And then
Hmm.
I go to sleep. But I was waking up a month ago. I was waking up at like typically between like 7:30 and 8:30 was like my wake up time.
I see.
All right. So now I'm in a new cycle. I'm going to bed closer to about 11, but I'm also sleeping in till about 8. Now, what's weird about this is for about the first month or so of this cycle change
Hmm.
is where the hours get weird. So I will probably fall asleep now, again, 11, 11:30, 12, but then I end up waking up between like 6 and 8. So those are going
Hmm.
to be my hours. But by the next month,
It'll
I'll start
switch.
waking up more consistently closer to that 8:30 time.
Not
What are
weird
your
at all.
What are your thoughts?
Completely normal. What you're going through. That is completely normal and healthy. So I can't tell you exactly what's going on because I would have to have you like in a lab and a doctor would have to watch you in a sleep lab for I don't know how long before we can actually figure out what's going on. But honestly, that's not weird at all. There, I know people who will sleep 3 hours a night. That's all they need, and
Wow.
they function just fine. Everybody is different because really sleep. You really think about it, sleep is in the brain, And the brain is like, you want to talk about diversity? Like, diversity is on the inside, man. Like, oh my God, the amount of types of personalities and way we do things, the way we behave is so different. And it's not surprising because I know there are people like in northern, like Norway and whatnot, that their sleep cycles will shift based on the daylights on the daytime because it shifts so much up and down there. And they're like, they have seasonal disorders all the time. They get sick, allergies, and a lot of it's not related to anything real. It's just time is shifting and they're uncomfortable and their bodies are going through a different change and balance and adapting. It's completely normal. And honestly, if you are happy the way things are, keep it that way.
Oh, I love that. See, that's so beautiful to hear that, right? Because a lot of people would say, I guess I am going to offend some people, but that is that, most people in the medical field, in some degree or another, right, would say, well, here's my solution to your problem. You're probably the first person that I've ever heard go, hey, listen, if it's working for you, let it work. But what I'm thinking though is that your magic glasses, your sleep, right? That's what
Say it, like magic. Glasses. That's right.
They're magic. I would think they're really going to benefit the person who does have a job that has to get up at certain hours. Like when I used to when I was a teacher, yeah, you have to get up. You've got to report to work, right? So I can see that. So when I'm like, okay, I know I'm a cranky person if I don't get enough sleep. So I'm like, okay, I got to get enough sleep. So for a lot, people will have a schedule. They'll say, okay, I'm going to go to sleep every day at 9 o'clock. So how fast does this technology kick in and help you drift off to La La Land?
Okay, so it's different for everybody because it goes back to, it has a lot to do with the brain, and we'll just avoid all that. It's really just based on personality and genetics. I've had people where they will try it the first time they have their effect. I've had people where they would only do it for like 3 or 4 days and they got their effect. But on average, before they actually get the full effect, okay, it usually takes 3 weeks to 4 weeks. Now, why is that? Okay. If you pick up any new habit, because that's what you're doing, you're learning to sleep better because like you're shifting and whatnot. And it sounds like this is normal for you. You've been going through these changes cycles all your life.
Oh, yeah.
So it sounds like to me, you have a pattern that you've created for yourself that works for you. Right. Yeah. But then some people have created bad patterns, right? Because no pattern's made because it's a bad choice. Oh, I'm not going to sleep because I want to be unhealthy. The brain doesn't do that. It goes, oh, I'm used to doing this and I keep doing this, so I'm just going to keep doing it. And that's all it is. It's not about success. It's not about failure. It just cares about what is reproducible. That's all it cares about. So if you keep doing it, it assumes, oh, it must be good for you. Right. Yeah. But if you internally feel like, oh, this isn't good, right? Like this is bothering me, I need to stop. Okay. That just tells me you now have a habit that is not serving you anymore. Yeah. That's all it is. And you just need to teach yourself to go to sleep properly. And honestly, anybody can teach themselves to sleep better. And it just comes to one thing: discipline. Every single day, you lay down in your bed at that time that you picked, and you keep doing it every single day. Now, it's hard because it's like withdrawals. Because I've been through that too. In military school, I used to chug NyQuil to go to bed. I had horrible insomnia, and there were nights where it'd be like 2 a.m., 1 a.m. at night, and I'm just so exhausted. I know I have to get up at 5:40 the next morning. I just want some sleep, and you're just so frustrated and it's so emotional, and you just take it and you get like 3 extra shots of it down so you can just go to bed, right?
We are not advocating doing this on this show.
Right. But I know the pain of that. And so it's got to be easier than this, right? Because let's be honest, if you're taking whatever you're taking to help you, if it's chemical, it's kind of setting you back some way because you're dependent on something. The CEO, on the other hand, right? You do the discipline, you put it on every single night.
Dude, he looks so badass, by the way. That looks really badass.
It makes great for
You can't see through it. You can't see through it, but it looks really badass. I think it's pretty. Oh my God. So why aren't we going to the disco club? We should be going to the nightclub with that.
I've taken my glasses to raves before. They're great.
Yeah, I was going to say they look. I mean, you can just sit there and be chill, but you have like this really cool like lighting effect.
And dancing is just awesome in this.
I love it. Like you don't have to worry about no one looking at you. You're just because you got nowhere to look.
Oh yeah. Oh, so something really cool in here. So one of the things they did was they would do EEG scans on the Buddhist monks, people who are just experts at meditation, right?
Yeah.
Look at their brains and then use that as a reference for the CEO. Can I get any regular person who has never experienced meditation in their whole life to be at the same state of a Buddhist monk just using lights and sounds.
Oh my gosh. All right, hold on a second. I gotta fix my lighting because part of my raw program is I don't do edits. So
Oh, I
can
heard
you
you.
take
Go
the
for it.
stage and maybe talk to us about some of like the scientific, technical stuff behind it, and then we'll spend like a minute or two. I gotta adjust my light.
Go for it. Go for it.
All right, you got the stage. You got the floor. You're the first I think I've ever given the floor this
Let's do
long.
it. Let's do it. Let's
All
do it.
right,
Let's do
on
it.
your
Let's do it.
mark, get set, tune in, peeps.
All right. So one thing that I personally love about the CO, and actually don't forget it, I'll tell you guys a story instead. So I basically, in my coaching, I've kind of reached a point where I was really frustrated because I realized that a lot of my clients would go back home and to the environments that actually caused the problems initially. And it just made me really sad because it felt like they would be paying for a session, they would come every week, and it'd just be unpacking all the stuff that they already unpacked last week. And it's just you're never getting anywhere. You're just starting from scratch every single time. And it just got more and more frustrating because some people, for them to help themselves, they have to get out of the environment. And some people, they just can't get out of the environment. So there had to be a way that I could, promote healthier habits for her at home, right? Now, really the healthy habit she needed was relaxation and meditation. But how do you tell a single mom who's just newly divorced, 3 kids, that she needs to relax? And also she's a lawyer and a partner at a law firm. So it's just an insult, and it never comes off good. And so really it is a lot easier for me just to give her the CO, because then she doesn't have to think about it, which was the real big part, because she was a thinker already. The CO, what's great about it, it gets you to stop thinking, because usually that keeps you from sleeping at night is the
Too much thoughts.
oh yes.
Too
And we
much
live in a
thoughts.
world where it promotes that state. As soon as you pick up your phone, it's just how many ads can you go through and posts can you go through in less than a second?
Oh my gosh, too many.
Too many.
Too
And so
many.
our brains are getting conditioned to this. And so now you lay down and sleep, and everybody's by their phones. Like I sometimes I'll text a coworker knowing that they'll be in bed, and I'll be like, they'll read that tomorrow morning because they're out in Belgium or something, right? And that way I can go to sleep and they'll respond in the morning. And sometimes they'll respond to me right then and there. And I know it's like, are you okay? It's like, I'm playing movies in my head right now. Or they'll say like, oh, I'm thinking about the past, or what, something like this. And it's just like, you don't it's unfortunate that our culture is promoting this, and it's steaming into our bedtime, our
Yeah.
homes, everything. And
Yes.
so I personally feel like more than ever it's going to be so much more important for us as humanity to separate ourselves and our safe spaces and create barriers from the energies we just don't want in our lives, because it's everywhere now. You can't it's
Yes.
I mean, how many times have you been hit by go out and vote the last like 3 weeks?
Oh yeah. Oh, constantly. We're always constantly being bombarded all the time. And so in a way, sleep is a great escape
Hmm.
from all of this, really, right? I mean, there's other methods, but we don't want to talk about those. But in this sense, sleep can be a very good. And you know what? If you're like moi, you can kind of get really into your dream. Dreams bring me messages actually, and so when I
Hmm.
wake up or something, I mean, I quickly start, jotting shit down in my journals and stuff like that. So, but for me, sleeping is actually a form of escape.
Hmm.
So what I love about it is, and your product basically helps us to get to that escape, right? There's no
Hmm.
chemicals. There's no
None.
real dependency on it, which is great. And I can take it to a club and look like a badass dancer,
Yes, yes, that's the best
right?
of this part. Yeah, they're supposed to start red lights right now. So,
Yeah, that's like so cool.
so exactly that, because let's be honest, we're creating we don't live in the environment anymore. We have that blue sky to tell us when it's time to wake up. That environment is slowly getting further and further away from us as time goes on. We're
Yes.
stuck in offices, seasonal defect
Yes.
disorders, all this stuff
Yes.
going on, and we didn't have this stuff before.
No, we didn't. And what's interesting, because this actually is a great tie-in to the
Hmm.
reality that as we start doing all these things and access to these phones, and like you said, I leave this physical location to go home where my phone does follow me, my
Hmm.
laptop. I have a Surface Pro. It follows me back home, right? And
Right.
so what we have to do as entrepreneurs is to set up the B word. right? Which is
Mm-hmm.
boundaries,
I love it.
right? What are your
Boundaries
thoughts
are.
about what kind of boundaries do you put in place when you say I'm off the clock and I'm not going to look at my crap? Like, do you have boundaries like that?
Oh, okay. So that boundary I had to set for myself
Okay.
because I have no problem not looking at the phone and not responding to somebody. I have no problem with that. I have a problem with myself being okay letting that go because I have this guilt complex that kicks
Mm.
in and it's not healthy. It's just another habit that serves a positive intent and purpose and it does not serve me now. So it
Yeah.
needs to go. It needs to be
Yeah.
replaced. And so
Yes.
and so I replace it with like, don't you respect yourself? This is about self-respect. Do
Yes.
you respect yourself enough to give yourself a
Yes.
break? Because
Yes.
nobody knows when you're going to break down. Nobody can tell you when you're going to reach that burnout other than
No.
yourself and your body if you're willing to listen.
Yes, and it's interesting about that because boundaries. I actually did not discover the power of boundaries. So
Hmm.
all you fools out there can thank Michelle Weinstein. So she's the one who taught me the real power of
Hmm.
boundaries. And ironically enough, so this, that's why I say in my show we talk about our personal selves and our businesses and our money, right? So
Hmm.
in our case, I took a course from her and she taught us about boundaries about in business specifically.
Ooh, yes.
And this was powerful because before I didn't have really great boundaries in my personal life, much less my business life, right, or the monetary life.
Are you
And
talking about me now?
I
Sounds
mean
like me.
that was definitely me. So I mean, it can be us, I suppose. And so what I realized is that I kind of was primed, I guess you could say, to start understanding this concept because it was another coach that I work with, Dr. Charlene. So shout out to you as well. And she's been on my show, as a matter of fact, and so has Michelle, by the way. And really, it was this concept of it was something she said, and I can't remember exact her words, but the emotion that I felt that came
Hmm.
up out of me was the realization that I so badly need to be loved and accepted that as a result of those two things, I let everything go out the door and I just let whatever, whomever, quite literally, I almost said something inappropriate. It's my show. What can I say? I can say anything I want. But they
Hmm.
could
Right.
like literally come into my life. Okay. And so, right. So like, that's just kind of like what happens. And in my business too, right? They come in and they want to lowball you or they want you to work extra hours or, all these different
Hmm.
things that go on or
Oh
waste
my
your
God,
time is
yes.
a big one. Right. And
Oh my
so
God.
I realized that I wanted to be loved. Well, the question becomes, well, where the hell does that come from? Because it's deeply rooted. I mean, this
Right.
shit goes back like deep. And what I realized is that the desire and the need to be loved so bad, for me, anyways, for me, I speak from my experience, goes back, unfortunately, to my childhood. And the reason it goes all the way back to the childhood is because, on one hand, I wanted my mother's approval and her love so bad, right? And you did get it. I mean, mom, I'll give credit to my mother, right? Like she did.
Hmm.
She always called me her teacher, and I love you, and you're smart. She always said those beautiful words, but I was always confused with the physical abuse that came with it. And we call this spanking, we call this discipline, but
Right.
it's
It is
actually
confusing.
physical abuse. It really is physical abuse. And when you get hit so many times every single day for 18 years, there comes a breaking point in your life that you go, well, the one person that's supposed to love me, who says she loves me, doesn't really love me because she causes me pain, physical pain.
Right. You make that decision.
Yes. And unfortunately, one day, my mom doesn't know this, but now she's going to because she's one of my fans, actually.
Hmm.
I remember I think I was about 10 years old and she had beat us up pretty good, AKA spanked us really well. And I actually had wished my mother would die. I actually wished that she would die so that I would not have to experience that physical pain anymore. And so, because of that, I had no idea what love really is or what it was about. And my mother would always talk about love and God's love and this and that, or you hear from other people. But the reality is that every child wants unconditional love from their parent with no conditions. No, you have to be this way or believe that or do this or do that. They want to know that they're loved unconditionally. And when that love is not present, it fucks you up. And
It
what
fucks you up.
it fucks you up. Yeah. And me, in my case, you kind of go, well, where can I find love? So you
Hmm.
find love from other people, other sources, other situations. Exactly. And then you bring it into your business when you're an entrepreneur.
That
You see,
ego. It
that
comes with
shit
ego.
follows. Yeah, because it follows you. So then you're like, okay, all right. Well, I really like Christopher. Like, I really like you, and I want you to be, a
Right, right.
client of mine.
Hmm.
And you know what? I'll slash my prices to nothing and do
It's
it for
right.
free.
Ah!
Yep, yep,
I've been there. Yes.
yep. And so it's almost like self abuse
It.
because now you're resentful. Now
Hmm.
you're like, why am I doing this? I'm not really I got to pay my mortgage, but I can't
The
because now I'm
darkness.
right. It's just all wrong, my friend. It's just all wrong.
It's so I'm happy you're talking about this. So we had a meeting. We have a CEO ambassador meetings every Tuesday, and they're pretty big. And we have people from all around the world, and we talked about trauma. There's some research going on in Virginia, and they're working with people who went through PTSD in combat, but they've noticed that there's like a neurological sameness with abuse and PTSD. They've also noticed that the treatments for PTSD that seem to work, and treatments, these are not cures, these are treatments that seem to work really well, also work on rape victims.
Wow.
So that shows us that these moments of intensity where it's that smack, right? I saw
Yes.
there's a physiology that goes with it that is so deeply ingrained in us. And
Yeah.
so, real quick, my mom, if you're watching, by the way, I'm sorry, but I'm going to say it now because it's bloody true. And by the way, this is my real accent. So I have an accent because I'm not from the States. I grew up in Seychelles. I was born American, but military brat, so I was always going back and forth.
All right.
So when I talk to my mom, my accent comes out a little bit. And so my mom likes to, well, I don't know if she likes to, but she does it out of love. I know she does it out of love, but still, it's wrong. She likes to fat shame me.
That brought me chills. That brought me chills.
She used to, like, I wouldn't see her for like a year, a whole year in the States, and I'd come home. It's a 2-day trip to go home. 2-day trip. You're exhausted, nonstop, jet lag to the maximum, like, and you're trying to stay awake and cognizant, and you just want to take a sea of bloody nap.
Yeah, you're a little asleep.
And you're getting home. You have all your luggage with you, and everybody's happy to see you home, and you're doing the pleasantries. And then your mom takes you aside, and she looks at you and says, you got fat. And I can see from her perspective maybe that it doesn't make sense to her, like it doesn't hurt. But you see, that doesn't work anymore in our society, and it's just like there's cameras everywhere now. People, you will not get away with it. You just can't. Like if you think in your mind what you're doing is okay, if somebody catches on camera, I promise you, you're going to get judged, and you're going to hear it very soon. The whole internet will come after you. And it's kind of a beautiful thing, at the same time kind of scary, but I think it's a good thing because it's making people more aware of themselves. Because let's be honest, if you grew up in a privileged background, those people tend not to worry about how they behave around other people, especially when they go in bad times, right? That darkness kind of comes out, right? And that's why it's so important for us right now, before you make decisions, before you do anything, especially as entrepreneurs, right? Going through COVID-19, you're probably crazy stressed out and everything. You need to remain centered,
Yes.
impartial, but professional.
Yes.
Like you need to, oh God, like you gotta find it. Because if you don't have your center, how many entrepreneurs that did not have their centers figured out lost their businesses because of COVID-19? Because they were
Absolutely.
not able to adapt. They were not able to think clearly. They did not get good sleep. They let the stress beat them.
Yes. And I'll say this though. I'll say this because moms, as we know, our moms are close.
Mhm.
Again, as I said earlier, we turn to the mother because she's the one who gave us birth for that love, right?
Mhm.
And I think that's very clear that I point this out, I think for both of us. And that is to say that, and what brought me peace, by the way, is that it's not my mother's fault. And what I
Right.
mean by that is that she simply was doing what was done to her. You see what I mean?
The
Because
best
it
that she
goes back
has.
generations, and her parents did it, and her parents and their parents, right? And it goes back through what my one of my friends Sarah calls, lineage damage, right? Like it goes all the way
Right.
back to
There's
time.
legacy and ego tied into
It
it.
all goes. And so, like in your mom, in the case of fat shaming, right? Like I have been fat shamed as well from certain relatives as well.
Hmm.
And I think they say it in jest, right? As a
Right.
joke.
But
But the
when you're a
reality is, if
kid,
you're already, if, and as a gay man myself,
oh,
I already have body complex issues,
right.
right? Because we do need to look a certain way. I mean, we're in my community, in the gay community, we're always seeing hot, cute, guys with muscles and they look a certain
Mhm.
way. And we see this all the
Right.
time.
It's a bit hyper-centralized in the gay community, isn't it?
Oh,
Looking
I love it though.
good.
So the point is,
It's like no, but so I one of my favorite places to go clubbing are gay bars
oh
because you can
yeah,
actually have dance and have a great time.
oh
And
yeah.
honestly, I love to be flattered, but
Well,
like who doesn't, right? And but
yeah.
like yeah, every time I go to the gay bar, I notice that there's this huge emphasis, almost ego, on looking good. And
Yes.
sometimes I like it, but sometimes I'm like, because I like to look good. I like
Yeah.
to dress up. I like
Yeah.
to look whatever message I'm trying to portray to other people. I love that.
Yes. Yes, I agree with you. But I think that's clarity though we should say is
Mhm.
that, it's not our parents' fault. And I
Right.
think that's important. We can it's still part of the story, right? It's part of who we are, part of where we come
Mhm.
from and all that other stuff, right? But the key that helps me to always remember this is that it's not my mother's fault. And it's not to say that, like she gets a free pass. It just says that I have compassion to understand where
Right.
she's come from and to really prevail it. But you're absolutely right though. And that's any kind of
But
abuse,
you're
any kind of
right, and you're
abuse that we
putting it
go
out
through.
there. I love that
Yes.
you're putting it there. It is. There's no judgment. No
Yep.
judgment. It is what it is.
It is what it
Okay.
is.
And if you're gonna get crazy about it, that's fine.
Yep.
Because
Yep.
'cause people do. Because if you're gonna confront them like that, expect negativity. Like,
Oh yeah.
sorry.
Do you know why
Like,
that is, right? You know why that is?
of course,
Because it
ego.
turn well, no, because it turns out, well, yes, but it
Oh
turns out
yeah.
that we are a mere reflection
Hmm.
of ourselves.
That's right.
And so, I discovered this a few months. Oh God, I can't even. This is how you know I'm getting old, because it's already going to be November, like in 2 days,
Hmm.
and I keep feeling like it's the beginning of like the year. So the point is, I was sitting across from myself doing. I was talking to myself in the mirror. I do this thing called mirror talk. I talk to myself,
Oh,
and
good.
I love it. So basically, this is how it goes down. It goes like this, and in fact, when I look now at the video screen, what I see is actually my soul talking. And how did I get there? Well, what I realized is that in order for me, this to move forward out there, is that I needed to remember my mom saying, my mom's here. See, I told you she's a big fan of mine. Hi, mom. So you see, she knows I talk openly about this stuff. So needless to say, like what I realized is that in the mirror, I forgot where I was going with all this. I just got distracted. Sorry.
So
Is
you
that
look in the mirror.
look in the mirror? So mirror talk for me is important because what it says is it continues to affirm the positive things about who I am. So what I mean by this is, let me explain this. So imagine, remember I just said earlier that the abuse and all that shit that we go through, right? It's not my mom's fault. It's not her mom's fault. It's just the way shit was done, right?
That's right.
It's
Right.
generational. So here's the thing, right? Original sin, in my opinion, is actually the thing we call judging and shaming of
Agreed.
others. That's the real shame. Because
Hmm.
why? Because women are blamed, first of all, for supposedly corrupting men. This is how men control women, just saying. This is the narrative. So they control women by blaming them for all the shit that we go through. So
Hmm.
they call her Eve and blame her for all of us, right? Talk about the burden they place on women. So first of all, that's why I work with women,
Hmm.
because they're always blamed for something. Number two, in Buddhism, we would say that negativity, like for example, anger is what we call a root negative emotion, right? It's
Hmm.
deeply rooted, because out of anger comes all these other emotions, right? Jealousy, covetousness, all these other
Hmm.
things, but the main root is this one thing called anger, right? So
Hmm.
my thing one day is I went, holy moly, macaronis and cheese. And that is that since the moment we are born, in fact, before we're born, we have gender reveal parties. So
Yeah.
before we're born, we're already told by someone else who we should be, how we should act, how we show up, our manners, our talking, the languages we speak, our religious beliefs, you name it, right? And it's not, it's societal pressure. So it comes straight from, of course, your parents, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's the first one. It's the first layer. And then it's everyone else, your family, your immediate family, bigger family, and then eventually your teachers and your peers. And literally all of life
Mm-hmm.
pushes down on you
And your most
and
vulnerable
tells you
time.
all the time. So
Mm-hmm.
I, of course, was born gay. So right off the bat, I got to fight that every day of my life. In fact, we're still fighting it right now with the
And
current
discover
judges,
it. And you also have to
right?
discover it and find it.
You get it. Well, that,
Nobody told
and then
you.
you're like, oh shit,
Yeah.
was born a Hispanic, a minority. Okay,
Yeah.
I was born into poverty, extreme poverty. So I had to deal with that, right? So there's all these things that get layered on top of you. And what I realized is that as a result, we spend all our waking hours trying to please other people. You know, you asked me earlier today before we got on the show, and you said, Jonathan, like I think something to the effect of, you said something to the effect of, like, I just love how you just get out here and you're doing this,
Yes.
right? And you're
Right.
naked on your show,
The confidence.
the confidence, right? Like, where do you get this from? And I said to you, because I just don't give a fuck anymore. And
I was just
that's
like,
because, and it took a while to get there, but that's because we're always being told what to do and who to be and so forth. So one day I'm looking in the mirror and I started realizing that I always was picking on myself first. I was always going like, oh, your balding pattern and, you know, my white hair coming in on my beard and my fat sides going on and, you know, all kinds of other personal things that, you know, we tear ourselves apart.
right. Piece
Right?
by piece.
All the freaking time. And so then all of a sudden, I had an aha moment. And I realized that when I smiled at myself in the mirror, I smiled, what I got back was a smile. That was the reflection, was a smile. And I went, well, that made me feel good. And so I kept doing it more and more and more. And eventually I started to allow myself to speak out loud and say positive things to myself. And I used to say things, I still do to this day. I love you. Do you know, Christopher, how hard it is to look in the mirror dead on into your own eyes and look at yourself in your own soul like you would your soulmate and say, I love you?
So real quick, when you probably can hear my son in the background. I'm not sure if you can or not.
That's okay. Don't worry about it.
Don't worry about it. So real quick, the smile and being able to tell you I love you. I think I was 22 when I finally realized that I hated myself.
Oh, shit.
Okay. And the nasty part of it all was I hated the fact that I was brown. That was the part that, and it took me 22 years to even figure this out. Right. And of course, it was a negative event that finally hit me in the face like a pan and be like, you either figure this out now or you're going to kill yourself in the next 5 or 4 years. You're not going to make it. I couldn't socialize. I couldn't smile. And because you can't do that when you don't love yourself. You can't smile. You can't talk out loud. You can't have confidence because you don't believe in yourself. Right.
That's right.
And so I had to start digging internally to find the story that I had chosen for myself. Yeah, a lot of it's true, right? A lot of it is, but you really look at it and you understand how the human experience works with time.
Yes.
It's been changed, right?
That's right.
It has a meaning for you.
Yes.
And I asked myself, like, when did I make a decision? It must be clearly emotional that it was all right to hate myself, that I needed to hate myself, because if I didn't, that'd be bad, right? And so really, I went through this process of letting go of the emotional container that I had built within myself that was holding in all the other emotions other than, because the whole thing that was circling through my system was anger. Like you said, that root
It's the root.
source, that's all I had. So, of course, the explains the sleep. No, you're not going to sleep. Like,
When you're angry.
you're never going to sleep. You don't deserve sleep. And that's how it sounded in my head. Like, and it was like through military school, throughout my whole life, it was like that. It was always like pathetic, work harder. And that was the voice in my head, right?
Oh, that's the key point. The voice in
In
your
your head.
head.
And so, one thing I love about the CEO, we actually have a program on it that is over 20 years old. Okay, it's the same. It's called Letting Go.
Love it.
It's been designed by physicians, gone through so much hypnotherapy work. When we tell people to use it, we always ask them first, are you by any chance suffering from any depression or anything going on in your life right now? And if they say yes, we're like, okay, we're going to get you your own private room. And you're going to sit down and you're going to do a letting go program. It takes 25 minutes. And, here's some water, some tissues, because you're going to need it.
Yep.
And what I love about it doesn't matter who you are. I've had veterans who have been through hell, okay? The most covered in tattoos, beards, everything. You can't tell them anything. They won't believe you, right? I had veterans crying coming out of that process because they just never learned. Nobody taught them how to be like, hey, you need to open this up. There's 4 other emotions, and if you mix them up, they make it a whole other rainbow that you can enjoy in your freaking life. Because right now, the only color you have is red and black.
That's right.
That's all you have. And that's how you see the world. Like, it's not even white and black. It's just red and black. Either you see it in red or you don't see it at all. And so that's kind of, I want people to understand, like, if you're not practicing any form of meditation or prayer,
yes,
get on it. Because this works just as good.
Yes, it does.
Sit down, be with God.
Yes, be with God, be with your soul. Because my whole point about this too, and that's why I said when you said about that voice.
Mm-hmm.
So what I realized that when I started talking to myself in positive ways,
Right.
I would do it out loud. So my mom's watching, of course. She gave me the gift of gab, right? So she gave me this beautiful gift with the ability to articulate the way I speak. It comes from my mother, 50% of that. So I get that from her. And so, because if she was on my show, which one day we're going to get her on here, I swear, when my mom, you're going to do it. I know you will. We'll get you enough courage if we have to.
That's going to be an event.
It's going to be an all-day, 3-day event with my mother, right? So because this is who we are.
Right.
Blues Blues. So I'm talking to myself. And again, I start saying exactly that. I love you. You're smart. You're intelligent. Because exactly what you said a minute ago. Everyone in the world can tell you, because I think, by the way, you are a sexy man, just saying. So, like, until we believe it, I can tell you all day long how gorgeous you are, but if you don't believe it, you'll never accept it, right? And so I started saying stuff like this out loud, and I caught myself going, I like the feeling. I like that feeling because it's a mirror reflection because you're smiling and you're getting it back. So always positive talk. Well, here's the thing, right? What I also discovered is that when you're talking out loud like I am right now, I call this the conscious mind because it's what's coming out, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's that you're hearing or, this and that. The voice that's on the inside that nobody can read, nobody can hear it, nobody, which is why we can never say, my boyfriend feels blah, 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 or my so-and-so feel. You don't know that because you're not their mind. So what I realized is that little voice, though, that little voice that we hear, that's the subconscious mind.
Thank you. Yes.
That is saying the bullshit that's been programmed to say the bullshit because, like I said a second ago, the moment you're born, you're fed bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
And so this little guy right there just feeds you bullshit, just constantly reinforces it. So did you know, though, you can override it? Yes, sir. So here's why when you talk to yourself in the mirror, you say it out loud. That's the key. So I'm actually teaching a course right now called JB's Rapid Tax Savings Program Formula. And it's for small entrepreneurs. And I've got 4 students in there right now, and I'm super excited. And would you believe it? We spent the first class teaching them how to say, I love you first in the mirror. So they could believe that they were worthy of saving all that money, so that they're worthy of having the right entity and taking the right deduction, so they can believe it. Mm-hmm. And become the badass CEOs that they are. So needless to say, it's out loud, positive talk. So here's a fun exercise. When we start this, what happens is we go, oh, you're smart and this and that, but, and the moment we say the word but, is the moment that we're placing a condition. And here's why.
Yes. It's a
Because
negator.
very subtly, what's building up is this thing called confidence. But to others, they call it cockiness. To others, they call it you're uptight. To others, they call it that you're being you're being grand, right? You're being flamboyant. You're being whatever. And so, because they don't understand that you're raising your vibration, they will do everything in their power to diminish it, to pull you back, so that you're part of the crowd, right?
Please,
And because
I
of
don't
our
belong.
yeah, we don't want to be alone. And again, it goes back to the desire to be loved and accepted and wanted and all that. What do? We easily fall back into this.
Oh,
Correct?
it's so easy, and it's so easy.
It is easy. So instead, what we have to do is train the brain, right? Like you said a minute ago, train the brain. I like that. Train the brain. So
It's not you. Your brain
it's
is
not
not
it's
you.
train the brain.
It's a tool. Use it.
every day. So every day when you see, so what I realize is this: the person that I'm saying I love you to in the mirror, all right, and that in the same time is saying it right back to me, all right, because it's a mirror reflection, is actually, are you ready for this? It's actually your soul. And here's why it's your soul. Because the reflection in the mirror has never, ever been told all the negative shit that we've been fed since the day that we were conceived. Never
right.
has it ever. It's over there. It's never in this reality. It's over there. And so what I love about it is that when you fall in love with your soul and you white out like this because the lights turn out in your office, is that when you look in the mirror reflection, like right now, like I'll look over here, right? I'm going to show you. Look, see my reflection?
Yes.
See it? So everywhere I look now, guess what I see? I see my soul. And my soul is always there to reinforce the beautiful things that I am. And so here's the nice thing about it. A lot of people, when they do this, they feel very sheepish. It doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel right.
Right.
Again, because we've been conditioned to believe the opposite, that if you say good things about yourself, you're somehow conceited.
Right. There's a reason why when people come to America and they try McDonald's for the first time in their lives, they instantly puke. There's a reason.
Yeah,
They're not used to it.
No, they're not. We're not used to it. Exactly. Thank you. That's a great analogy because it's true. So eventually what happens, yes, mother, exactly. It's like living in denial.
Hey, oh my God, there it is.
Absolutely. I told you we're 50-50 over here. I told
Wow.
you. So but it's true though, right? Because that's the reality. So what I discovered is that you can override that subconscious mind and you can train it to say positive things to you. That's key. So here's why this is yes, and here's why this is important. Because when we set up the boundaries and we say, either at a personal level, we say things like, yeah, you know what, you want some of this, you have to be a certain way, you have to do this, you got to, right? If you want to step into my business world, you have to do, in my case, clients have to do 5 minimum things before they can come join the bingo experience. And it's about me now having the confidence, the cockiness, so to speak, right?
Right.
The cojones, I don't know, the cojones, to say, wait a minute, you didn't complete the questionnaire, you didn't upload your tax returns, you didn't do that, to be able to say, if you don't do it, it's canceled. I don't know what else to tell you. And part of that is not having yes, it's about the respect.
That's right.
And it's about also not having the fear that nobody else will come and be your friend.
Oh God, yes. Thank you. Yes. Because I've noticed that there's a lot of people doing it the wrong way where they don't have barriers. I've noticed that. There's a lot of people just giving it away for free. And I'm just like, no, I don't agree with that at all. That's not right. You shouldn't be giving away your energy like that. There needs to be some sort of energy exchange. Like your energy in itself is worthwhile. Like why you being here, you're bringing value. So are they giving something back or are you just here to help them out? If that is true, that's fine.
Yes.
But if you're here expecting something and you haven't put that down, you've not set boundaries on how to get that, you're not going to get it.
Nope. Not at all. And that's how we get used and abused because we don't ourselves put down those boundaries and say, this is what I want for the outcome, right? That's it. Now, you can do what we call in Buddhism, especially unconditional, right? So unconditional love, unconditional kindness, unconditional giving, unconditional. And the concept there, I love you too, Mom. The conception, the thing there is that it's unconditional, meaning that, like when I started my show, Naked Tax Talk, and I bring on my guests, I don't really have an intention. There's no ulterior motive other than to position me as an expert when we talk about taxes, right? But
Okay.
all I'm doing is showing off my knowledge, right? That's all I'm doing. Like, that's why, world, that's why I'm here too. I'm just showing off my knowledge, right? I'm showing how smart I am. And
Hmm.
at the same time, there is a benefit. And the benefit is that my viewers, my fans, my clients, everything, right? They see the show, they pick up on these little tidbits, and then they take it back and they implement it hopefully back into their lives, and they turn their lives into magical sauce.
That's how it should be.
That's how it should be all the
Like,
time. As
and,
all
and
the time.
we are moving that direction, I think, because COVID-19. I think we are definitely moving that direction because now because let's be honest, like if you just get me your program and it's just like this wham shmam like process, and I come out the other end and I don't get my results, the outcomes I wanted, people are getting tired of that.
That's right. That's right. We have to put down we have to also say,
Mhm.
this is what I want. This is what I expect to have the outcome. And the other party has to agree, right? So
Yes.
I like to call this the rules of engagement.
Hmm.
So, my husband and I, we've been together 11 years.
Oh wow.
11 years. And nothing to laugh at when you're gay, especially, right? We used to joke in the day when you're together for a month, you'd be like, that's like 5 gay years, right? So, like,
I've heard the joke.
11 years
Yeah.
is like 101 years in our case, right? So, but what really makes it work is that we have this thing called rules of engagement. It's about knowing what you expect in the very beginning and them expecting that too. So when I met my husband, he was the first guy that I was completely 100% open about my expectations. Completely.
So it
And
worked.
it worked out very well, obviously, and it's worked out quite well because I told him I wanted certain things in my life and in my experiences, and so of course he was willing to deliver, and he shared with me the things he expected, and I deliver, right? And that's the thing. Like I one time had a boyfriend that was upset with me that I went out of town and I didn't bring back a souvenir.
Hmm.
Well, unfortunately, when I travel, I tend to be very self-centered because it's about my experience. And so I wasn't necessarily thinking about other people. And I came back empty handed. And he was upset. Why didn't you bring me something? And I didn't think about it. And so I said to him, if you want me to buy you things when I'm out of town and traveling, tell me. And then I will bring you gifts.
You had an expectation.
I don't know the expectation unless you tell me. Which, by the way, interestingly enough, you want to know a little
This
secret?
is such a simple thing too, but it's rampant in our society.
Well, it's also it's actually it's another deep-seated root, and
Hmm.
here's
Hmm.
why. Because expectations, consciously and subconsciously, are placed into the world, right? So we expect things to go a certain way with a certain outcome all the time, 24/7.
Hmm.
And what happens when the expectation is not met, we then experience anger,
Right.
and it pops up, right? And that does a whole
Hmm.
bunch of things. So what we
And
can
gets off balanced.
Oh, forget it. Then you can't sleep. So then what we do is practice something called non-attachment.
Oh God, it's my
Now
best friend.
that
Used to be my best friend.
non-attachment, it's available to every single one of us at any time. And here's how it starts. You start with understanding that there is no constant in life. The only constant is change.
That's right.
So what that means is that moment by moment, things are changing. Like right now, my show typically ends at the 45-minute mark.
Oh,
We are at 58 minutes and 58 seconds.
thank you for
Now,
reminding me that.
if I was attached to the outcome of ending at 45 minutes, okay, I would probably be going like, dude, like, gotta go.
You're angry. You be angry.
What the fuck? Like, you're taking up my time, right?
See, it's so healthy to understand when you should have expectations.
Right, exactly. Well, I don't tell my guests this. So the point is that the reality is that non-attachment is looking up at the clock right now in real time and going, okay, so in my head, in milliseconds, I'm assessing the situation. Am I liking the conversation? Yes. Am I enjoying my guest? Yes. Do we cover topics we're covering? Yes. Is the topic we're talking about hot and meaningful and it's delivering value? Yes,
Yes.
right? Millions of a seconds, right? My brain is going pop, 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 pop. And at the
That's it.
same time, I'm practicing non-attachment, meaning I get it. It happens. Like things happen. You know,
Can't
for
control a
example,
conversation.
you can't control it. My cousin the other day, she says to me, she said to me, you know, I just feel so bad because of my sleep pattern, right? And I said, here's what I'll tell you. If we just accept the fact that we're in a pattern of things that going on in our lives and just accept that nothing is constant, nothing is permanent, everything is constant moving, then we can begin to let go of those things. And we do it slowly. And eventually, Christopher, we let go of expectations like I got to make money. We let go of expectations like I have to have the perfect client or the perfect mate, right? Or
Right.
whatever. But at the same time, we use wisdom because wisdom
Right.
goes, well, you're just not going to let anybody come into here, right? That's the boundaries check.
Right. That's where you find the balance. And
Yes. And if you don't want to, by the way, if you want to listen to my story, I have an episode that I created called How Cockroaches Taught Me Wisdom. So go check out the story of Oscar the Roach and how he taught me wisdom. So that's an episode here on my show.
Jonathan, though, I do have to leave soon. So I want
I
to
just
know
made you
that.
aware.
Thank you. Because as soon as you said 58 minutes, I was like, what?
I know, because we are having a really great time. And We're
Yeah.
talking about some great subjects. No, but
It's
my point,
authentic. It's flow. Like
That's
we're
what
not
it
talking
is.
about. We're not looking at pages. I'm like, dude, this is stuff that we have learned the hard way in many of my opinions.
yes, we have. So let's do this then, because we should probably both go. We got lives to live. I mean, c'est vrai, non?
Ouais,
Oh,
c'est vrai.
donne-moi la raison. Pourquoi tu parles français? Qu'est-ce qui est la raison?
Pourquoi beaucoup de personnes ne pas comprennent comme on dit. Mon français c'est très mal.
Bah, c'est moi aussi, hein?
No, no, you have better grammar than me. I don't have grammar.
Tu crois que oui?
Je pas comprendre on dit le grammeur. C'est grammar, c'est très mal. Je pas you know, c'est comme
mouchon.
ça.
Non,
Ouais,
c'est pas mouchon, mais-
qu'est-ce que tu dis avec moi?
Did you-
Don't forget the
Did you study French then? Did you take French
Yes.
classes or something?
Well, so I didn't study it. I didn't have a choice. I grew up around in a French family, so it's not like I had a choice. I just picked up on it. But here's the thing: I was born American, so I had all this societal conditioning flowing in. And when you're an American, being grown up in a foreign country, your ego goes to the roof when you're a 5-year-old. Just so you know, because you understand what it means, what hegemony means when you're that old. You know what it means to be part of a super. Because that's what America is. You go anywhere in the world, Coca-Cola,
Yes.
jeans, Michael Jackson.
Yes.
It's everywhere.
Yes.
And
we
so,
won the cultural war, so to speak.
oh my God, people haven't realized that. I want to have people haven't figured that out yet. It's called hegemony. It's saturated everything. And that's all people can think about. And so I learned French at French school, right? And people used to make fun of me for being American. That's just how it was. And so I reacted back towards it, and I said, I refuse to speak French. And so I only speak American. I said, I speak American, which was just, I thought, is that all that social conditioning?
Yes.
And when you're young, it's dogma. You think you're thinking, you're not thinking.
You're just doing it.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's why child labor and all that stuff, it's like that stuff is criminal.
Yeah, it's interesting because I had a similar story with my Spanish. I think my mom had moved us to Texas, and I think we were about 7 or 9-ish years old. I can't remember. We were pretty young.
Mm-hmm.
And right off the bat, one of my uncles had come out right away saying that if we were going to live with them, we had to speak Spanish. And so I, ironically enough, developed a resentment to speaking Spanish.
Right.
And so as a result, I just laissez-daisical, I don't know if that's even a word, but just like laissez-faire, I just like let it go. I was just like, okay, I'll speak Spanish here and there, and más o menos, things of that nature, right? Which is ironic because my Latin friends discriminate against me and say that I have a terrible Latin accent when I speak Spanish, right? So further continues to puts me in a closet and goes, okay, well, maybe I don't want to speak Spanish. So ironically enough, though, here's the thing, right? Every choice, everything that happens, look at me, everything we do in our lives happens for a reason. And here's why. Because, I'm a real francophile. Like, j'adore la langue française. J'adore. S'il y a l'opportunité de parler français, bon, bien sûr, avec toi, je peux parler, bon, bien sûr. Mais s'il
Mais
y a
tu vois,
l'opportunité de parler français avec quelqu'un, tout de suite. Et je
tout de
rappelle
suite?
quand j'étais petit, c'est ma famille m'a dit, Jonathan, il n'y a rien de personne qui parle français ici, en Amérique. Il n'y a rien de personne.
Ok.
Espagnol, mais non français. Et moi, je dis, mais c'est vrai, mais non, mais non. Et
Mais c'est pas
maintenant,
grave.
déjà, il y a beaucoup, plein de personnes, plein de monde qui parlent français. Et
Mhm.
évidemment, j'ai une famille française, j'ai des amis françaises. Voilà, et c'est la raison que je parle français
Exactement.
comme ça.
Ah ouais, non, non, c'est facile, c'est pas facile. Beaucoup de personnes me disent, non, non, je fais le language, you have to learn from the book. I'm like,
Yeah,
no, no, you
yeah,
go there, you surround yourself with an ecosystem that you actually want to benefit from. So
yes.
why make it hard on yourself? Like, it
You
doesn't
don't
make
have to.
sense.
No, we
It really,
don't.
really don't.
No. Well, all right. So before we go, let's wrap this up in case
Yes.
people skip to the back end. And unfortunately, we didn't get to a tax question this episode, but that's okay, though. We'll do it next time. But
Yes.
in closing, Christopher, closing last words, and we'll come all the way back to your wonderful. Now, is that P silent?
Yes. So it's SEO. It's
Seal.
Greek for literally
Ah.
mind science.
All right, mind science. I like it. So CEO. So listen, folks, you're having trouble sleeping. You got some insomnia, right? This is what I
Yep.
heard from Christopher today. You got some insomnia. You're having trouble sleeping. You want to take a power nap. Your eyeballs wake up to subtle light. I know I'm a victim of that. And so what basically it turns out you got to go to psio.com, go get some information. And if you'd like to, you can directly reach out to wonderful Christopher here, info@cousa.com. That's a P, silent P.
Yeah.
Why do they like to put in silent letters? I don't know why people do. In English we do this too, right? Like
Yeah. Yeah.
French
It's
is
English.
notorious. Like why
Hmm.
do we do this? I don't get it. And needless to say,
English
if you
has no
want
rules.
no rules. If you want to call or you want to text Christopher, you can 480-319-4865. You can reach out to him. You can reach out and find out more. You do demos too, don't you? Do demos?
Yes. So yeah, if you go to the website, you can actually schedule your free demo right then and there.
Oh my god, I
And
totally forgot to say that.
and it's what's really nice about it is that we actually find people in your area that are close to you, and you just go to their clinic and do it there where it's safe.
Free trial. Should I put free trial or free demo?
Free demo.
So psio.com. All right, I'm putting that in the comments. You guys can all go there, go check it out. Otherwise, Christopher, thank you so much for being a guest. I know we talked a lot. We actually got some really good, serious conversations.
Yes, I think we need to do this
today.
again. I think we
It
just
was,
do it
it
again.
you know the link. So with that,
Mhm.
I want to say bonne nuit, bisous.
Bonne nuit.
And to all of my fans out there and everyone else who watches my show, thank you so much for tuning in and watching us. May every single one of you have an amazing day. May you never be separated from your happiness, and may you all be free from suffering. And just remember, the point about this is that at the end of the day, we all want this baby. Mucho, mucho, mucho dinero. Until then, join me next week when I interview somebody, and I don't know who it is yet, but